All right, Styx is no longer a Satanist, but rather an occultist. Well, still not really any better, is it? But yeah, irrespective of his religious beliefs, I respect and like Styx. I I have nothing against him. What is it that holds you back from Christian belief as opposed to mere implicit Christianity? I think a huge part of this is the fact that I'm not actively engaged in the church. If I were, then things would be far more hardened and concrete. As of the moment, I am more a perennialist, kind of. I'm still navigating my way through these things. Uh, like I've said on many occasions, I went to the cathedral in Exeter and I tried to speak with one of the chaplains, and I was sorely disappointed um, for obvious reasons regarding the contemporary Anglican Church. Um, so that's that's very unfortunate. I've said this to James and I've said it to other people. In time, I am quite happy and confident that I will eventually fall. I will come under the wing of the church, whether it's Anglicanism or Catholicism or even Anglo-Catholicism. Um, I will move in that direction, and I think I am slowly, right. Um, but as of this very moment, it hasn't happened yet. There have been things which have inhibited it, and other questions I think I need to work out prior to convict to um, doing something like that. It's a very serious matter, and I don't believe that right now I am in personally in the right place to do that. But again, I think I advocate people go to the religion of their theed and their ancestors and their family and their because it is a part of identity and understanding oneself. If you understand God, you understand oneself, and vice versa. Really, that is what we need to do. We have to build for ourselves in this vacuum of modernity a stable foundation. And there are many different dimensions to this foundation: religion, culture, history, race. All these things meld and mesh together to form who we each are as individuals and where we come from and where we're going. And I'm just approaching that question in my own way, in my own time. Other people will approach it in different ways and approach certain dimensions of that question before I will approach those specific dimensions, and I might approach other dimensions of that thing before they will. There's a Greek phrase, oikopragia. It means to attend to one's duties, to be oneself, to act in accordance with one's nature. In the truest sense, in the highest sense, not the superficiality of a materialistic, obsessed ego, but in one's actual incarnation as a being. Yeah, too bad we can't get Mark on stream today. Yeah, Mark's working. He will be kind of having a hiatus now for a few weeks, but he will be back in September, doing able to do videos and things like that with me and others. He wants to eventually start doing things on his own channel, um, but of course these things take time. Some of these comments, lads, good heavens. Joseph P.O. Adam, have you thought about converting to Islam? I've already answered that question. Yes, I have considered the question, and I've decided no, because it would be acting against my nature. It would be acting against myself and what I am. it is an indication of not being myself, and I mean that in the highest sense. And I keep using this word highest sense. I know it becomes a bit of a meme eventually, um, but Evola's theory is coming to come into this. It's why, like I said in my video earlier today, I'm very skeptical of European converts to Islam because to me it appears unless that person is of such a specific kind of Brahmin kind of orientation, unless they are truly that elite, where they exist in an essence outside of ethnicity and theed, which I don't think is something very common at all. Really, on the part, you'd have to be a sage for it to be even remotely appropriate. But I looked at converts and I just see a hysterical clawing for something of any depth and any substance. It's like someone frantically trying to get out of a doorway, get out of a house, out trying to bash against the front door, trying to break it down, screaming and crying and sweating, um, in rage and fear. They're trying to get out of this prison, and eventually they break through and they see the first thing on their right, and that's what they jump to. It's an act of desperation. That's how I intuitively perceive it. So there you go.
Hello, Adam.
Hello, Duncan. How are you?
Quite tired, but I'm
Are you tired?
in fairly good spirits.
Oh, good. Right.
Though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. So I suppose you've been working.
Yeah.
I've been reading all these comments. They're just all over the place as usual.
On do you know that video that by Gra about there is no left, or
yes, yes, I shared that on Google Plus. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where I saw it. Yeah. On the subject of working, we're all like wage slaves, and fairly unnatural for that to be the case. And I don't really see any way out of that for myself, unless I went and like took up Putin's offer of farmland in Siberia or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting question. The leftism, rightism. That paradigm is imperfect, I think.
Well, you know, that got me thinking about. Do you know when you had your moment of glory, as celebrity in London recently, and I remember you saying, you know, you're not a nationalist. That's too left wing. You probably right of everybody in the room. I mean, that's you weren't showing off or anything. You were just stating a fact, weren't you, based on, you know, your understanding of. You know, you get to a point where it doesn't. You're not even right or left. You're just. Principles that are like immutable principles that really everybody should follow, but obviously that's not the case anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not, but you know, modern plebs would call you right wing.
Well, you have to keep
like that evil Tony Blair.
Well, mate, for that talk, I had to engage with a specific group of people, so I couldn't use terminology. You know, the dissolution of modern politics into various parties and is in and of itself degenerate. Therefore, I am a man of tradition. That would just that wouldn't that would just get a lot of people shaking their heads out of confusion. But yeah, I said that it's a way for me to signal my edge as opposed to a bunch of unsuspecting normies. Yeah, don't take it seriously. Yeah, I really hope no one takes it too seriously. No. There you go. But yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, it does come down to the fact that you say immutable principles. these things are neither left nor right. The existence of the left-right paradigm is a modern degenerative construct. It is in and of
Mm,
itself a product of modernity, a product of the anti-tradition.
mm,
Uh, so yeah, so a man who is outside of that wouldn't abide by those terms. I did
definitely.
in that instant as a way of communicating with people in that setting. Um, I don't call myself right
Yeah,
wing.
but
Yeah,
mm.
I'm not just saying that
Would
because
that
you
not
don't
be?
believe me. I'm saying just for the record because that we are live. Uh,
But is that not? I was going to say no. Is that not what you would call, um, you know, in a hierarchy or in these different degrees, the embodies the lower degree as well as the higher degree at the same time. So
yeah,
you can descend through the levels to to a nationalist level or to whatever that group level was level, whereas a lower level can't go
yeah, I
up to that.
suppose so. Yeah. Because I can I'm these things are kind of visually beneath me. I know I'm going to have people now saying, Adam thinks he's better than nationalists. Anti-white, anti-white. Fucking kill yourselves. But I can interact with all these other things which are kind of visually beneath me, and
Hmm.
you know, like an elevator going up and down, you can see all the different things and interact with them, but you will still really technically remain at the top. So yeah, that's what I was doing. Um, so there you go. So much shit posting in the chat. I'm gonna stop paying attention to it for a minute. Um, anyway, what have you been up to as of late, Duncan?
Uh, holiday. To use an Americanism, it was a staycation. I didn't, although we did travel around a bit, so that was fun.
Right, yeah.
And then now I'm back to work, and so I'm just looking forward to getting back into the routine of things. Well, the weather's been pretty shit though, so
The weather's
in
been
a way,
nice
that's
here. It's
been
been
experiencing that Spanish plume. that
no. It's been pleasant enough. It's been a bit of rain, but the greenery has needed it. But no, it's been on some days it's been too hot, which isn't good for me because I get really lethargic and miserable. Um, and I can't do anything because I'm overheating constantly, even though I'm hydrated and everything. But
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
I'm just
that's your your
Anglo genes.
genes or your Celtic genes or whatever, your
Yeah,
latent,
yeah,
Nordic genes. Yeah,
my
yeah,
Germanic.
I get the same. Yeah, went outside for an hour and a half and got sunburned. I had sun cream on. Just went out to mow the lawn. I was there with my hat on, trying to
Wow.
keep cool.
Yeah, it's been quite
Uh,
amazing. But there you go. Tomorrow I'm painting the outside of the bloody house, so I'll be outside all day, which will be interesting. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully it won't be too hot and like the sun just scorching us. And Ed is here in the
I've
chat.
got in the sun.
Dude, you're cutting up like really dramatically, by the way.
That's the connection.
Yeah, that's okay. Um, let me have a look. I'll send Ed a link if he wants to join. And then once I've done that, I'll go and get a cup of tea. On me.
Mm.
Um, Friday I could do with an ale instead, but sometimes you just don't get what you like. Anyway, I've sent Ed a link if he wants to join. So he says he's just woke up. It's like 2 p.m. in New York. Adam's been painting his house for like a month now. No, I've been doing other things as well, not just painting, mate. And these things aren't as simple as just going to get all this paint and paint the house. Other problems keep coming up. Um. Anyway, I'm gonna.
It's funny because all these people who I see in the chat shitposting, I'm sure that maybe it's before, but because I always see them here and never anywhere else, you think that they don't do anything else but shitpost. Like eternal shitposters.
Yeah, like 50 people just sit around all day, just waiting for me to do a live stream, and then just unleash. No. Right, Ed is here. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Yourself?
I'm pretty damn good. I'm gonna be better though when I get a cup of tea. I'll be right back.
I might get a cup of tea as well. Ed, you've got the wheel.
Yeah, you've got the wheel, Ed.
Great.
Don't fuck it up.
I mean, that's fantastic because I was about to make myself some yerba mate tea as well. But,
That's right.
I guess those plans are.
We'll make it. We'll take a 5-minute break. We'll all get tea. So
I'd say you just take the wheel, but Ed'd probably murder him.
Right, back in a minute, anyone.
It's nice to see you anyway, Ed.
Oh, good to see you too, man. It's been a while. Where have you been?
Been on holiday. I'll be back in a minute after I get some tea.
Alright, go for it. Okay. I'm gonna make some tea as well. Be back in like 2 minutes. Alright, I'm back now. So someone asked in the comment section why I sub to them. I don't sub to people really for any reason except because the new Google Hangout, sorry, not Google Hangout, or Google Plus feature or something like that, or the new YouTube system basically makes it, at least on my mobile phone, it makes it so that I can only, basically if I subscribe to someone's channel, I can see their comments on the comment section of a YouTube video before anyone else's. And so I just subscribe to someone, I guess, when I see them like make an interesting comment or something like that, so I can see their comments above everyone else's when I'm scrolling down YouTube on my phone. So I hope that everyone can still hear me. Anyway, tonight I've been asked sort of rather out of the blue by someone who I've never talked to before called Nero of Rome, or that's his Google Hangout, his Google Plus tag, Nero of Rome. He asked me to be on a debate about sort of should Mohammedanism be banned in the West or something like that. He wanted me to weigh in on that. So at 9:30, I'm going to be doing that. I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's a very
What are you doing?
It's an issue that's like someone asked me to be part of a debate or discussion upon why Islam doesn't belong in the West or should be banned from the West or something like that, or from America.
Right.
It was.
I'm surprised you'd say yes to that.
Yeah, I'm surprised as well. I was drunk.
Oh, for
It
fuck's
was
sake!
last night when I was with. It was last night when I was with Tubby.
No, you should say no. You should right now say sorry, man. I've changed my mind, or something's come up, and just say no. Because I'm just thinking. Actually, no. You should do it because you can represent the kind of Islamic or Levantine or Middle Eastern kind of side of the debate, even if you believe that Islam does not belong with Europe or the West. You can act as that kind of countermeasure there. You can act as that force there to kind of balance the obvious or inevitable kind of anti-Islamic bias.
Basically, to counter out the sort of like basic bitch anti-jihad or counter-jihad talking points, which I do as well find annoying. An excellent video, if anyone's listening to this and wants to learn or think a bit more on this topic, is a video by Imperial Aspirations, which is a reactionary critique of Islam, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, excellent. Jack's video is very good, yeah.
You know, I think I'm going to do it. So stay tuned.
Yeah, I'll be interested in listening to that. I mean, obviously, I have a deep respect and appreciation for Islam, but so do I have a deep respect and appreciation for Europe and Christianity and paganism. I don't see why it has to be one or the other. If one loves truth, if one loves the perennial tradition, if one loves genuine culture and religiosity, if one is orientated to that sort of direction, then one should have a love and respect for all of these things. I don't think that it should be a kind of, I really like this tradition, but I hate that tradition. You should understand what it is in its relation to others and all the rest of it. I think it's a sign of a lack of knowledge and lack of understanding to vehemently hate something as broad as, like, the word Islam means a lot of things. Just like the word Christianity means a lot of things. It's a multi-dimensional sort of. But there you go. I'll look forward to listening to that. How can you respect Islam? Alfred Albion asks. How can you not? I respect Islam because I respect the Middle East. I respect the history of its people. I respect the genuine religiosity. I respect a clear and concise metaphysics, which you really do find in Islam. So there you go. But that doesn't then mean that I believe there should be a mosque on every English corner. No, quite the opposite. So there you go. I don't know if it's kind of things are lagging or something because the comments have slowed down drastically. Duncan, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like it when things are quiet. There's been a load of comments here. Okay.
I only just got back anyway.
Yeah, that's fine, mate.
Yeah, that's another thing, isn't it? Where the whole topic of Islam, I still can't. I find it difficult to get over my like visceral dislike of the religion, but
yeah,
that's something. That's an emotive reaction, but
exactly.
The
biggest problem is that in our modern context, Islam is equated with Rotherham.
Hello.
Hello, Adam. Welcome to the Sky.
Yeah, I think Adam was going to make it associated with Rotherham, which is a very fair point.
Hello again. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I was just saying. Yeah, the trouble with our modern context is that Islam is equated with things like Rotherham, and all these other attacks and atrocities. There is clearly a relationship between Islam as a cultural force and these events, and these events are horrific and totally morally unjustifiable. This is not honorable jihad being carried out. Let's put that right out there. But that's kind of, you see this idea come up again and again, the idea of an occult war. And Evola and both Ganon and Evola make note of this at various points. That the forces in motion, the subversive and degenerative forces, will draw our attention to one thing to make us ignorant of another. So, for example, the idea of a scapegoat is a perfect example of a tactic used in this occult war. Divert your enemy's attention onto one thing, where you can act in another sector, somewhere else, and he doesn't perceive you. And I think focusing, and this is something Hotherus, who writes for us at West Coast Reactionaries, Paul, has said to me, is that focusing on these sorts of attacks and so on and so forth, these are terrible things, but they can divert our attention away from other areas and other problems. Because the problems which face us right now in the modern world are multifarious, they are myriad, they are legion. It isn't just people killing other people. That is but one part of our current conundrum. But Islam as a force, as a thing, as an entity, has a history far more complex and detailed than some idiot screaming Allahu Akbar and blowing himself up and killing 10 people. The entire history of this religion is more than that. And I think people would do well to actually understand Islam more than just what's put to them on a platter in our modern context. So, yeah,
that's one of the reasons.
Yeah, go on.
That's one of the reasons why I stopped looking at all of the atrocities that were going on in such detail, and because it was just driving me to blind hatred, and it wasn't constructive in any way.
No.
No, I wasn't seeing the deeper meanings behind things, or the patterns or anything like that.
Exactly. So there's a lot of oh, Adam, you're cucking for Islam comments here. I'm not going to respond to them. And the people making them and understanding what I'm saying in that light, you don't understand and you never will. So I'm not going to waste my time.
Did somebody in the comments mention? Did somebody in the comments mention Imperial Aspirations, or as is known, Jack's video, a brief reactionary defense of Islam?
Yeah, Ed mentioned it.
Oh right, well that's a pretty good video.
Yeah.
On that. No, but in this writing an article at the moment, which seemed to have stalled on, but talking about symbolic weapons and stuff like that, I could include a point on the Sword of Islam. I've got the book Symbols of Sacred Science in front of me now, right. And Gwennon talks a little bit about the Sword of Islam in chapter 26.
Yeah, because I know numerology is a huge feature in Islamic esotericism, because obviously they cannot make graven images of the Prophet and so on and so forth. So they use numbers and these sorts of abstract patterns and so on and so forth in their mosques. So numerology and mathematics, and you have like a Pythagorean sort of influence really in a lot of Islamic esotericism, which you do see in other branches of esotericism. So with Christianity and the Trinity, so with God and the Trinity, 1 equals 3, 3 equals 1. You have this kind of like strange idea there. Obviously, you have the Arian heresy and all the other questions which are lumped into it. But yeah, numbers is an interesting one, and symbols. Obviously, numbers are symbolic. So I know, for instance, 7. The number 7 has certain magical properties, and is a particularly powerful number. So is 3, and as does 6 actually. So there you
Well,
go.
and you could say 8 as well with the.
Yeah.
I mean, well, obviously numbers are going to be. I think probably every number has some sort of meaning to it. But
9.
9. Are you saying that 9 is in German? No, or are you saying the number?
Yeah. Sorry, you talking to me? I was reading the comments. I didn't understand. I didn't hear anything. Oh, that was just me being retarded. Ignore that. John wants me to give him a link on Skype.
Oh, this is really interesting. The Sword of Islam bit. It talks about how there's a preacher called the Khatib, which means preacher, and he holds a sword which is symbolic of the word or the power of the word, and then that relates to Revelation, where is it not Jesus who will appear with a sword in his mouth?
Yes, absolutely. Very good.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and you could also mention something Mark said on our last Hangout regarding Christ telling his disciples to buy swords.
Yeah, that's obviously symbolic as well. I mean, it's not. But that's what the profane meaning is like. Oh well, they need to buy swords to defend themselves, or they take it literally, or oh, Jesus is a peace-loving chap, and then somebody would post that that verse from the Bible saying, no, he told them to buy swords. He's obviously not a peace-loving guy. But then there's obviously the deeper meanings, the symbology behind that are something completely different.
Yeah.
If he's telling them to buy swords, he might be talking more about to sharpen their their wits and what they're saying.
Well, the word. Well, no, I wouldn't even say that. I would say I think it's right to interpret that as the word.
Yeah.
To spread the word.
That's funny as well, because the Jesus is the word, isn't he? See, he's like the sword of God.
But they were his disciples, and they carried with him his message after he died. So you have this idea of Jesus is a representative of something, right?
Sell all your possessions and take up the word.
Yeah.
Rather than
So there you go. So
a buffalo wandered in.
Yeah, a random buffalo.
Hi.
We might have to put it down before it gets rowdy.
That's mean.
Is a buffalo an American animal?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, it's a American. I think they were in Europe, but they were hunted to extinction. Poor cunts. They shouldn't have fucking tasted so good.
That's why I stay out of the continent. At the most, I talk to Brits. I don't talk to any other Europeans. Because Brits are barely Europeans. Barely.
I think they were like wolves in Britain, as well as other things.
There were bears and wild boars and.
Yeah. Well, I seem to recall
chavs.
Ireland and chavs. Mate, there are still loads of fucking chavs. If you want to go chav hunting, then I'll join you. Kind of cull the population.
We need to ride down some peasants on this on this next hunt.
Just reminds me and the skeleton going on about abo wrangling. But I was gonna say about Ireland and snakes. Who was the saint who cast all of the snakes out of Ireland?
St. Patrick.
St. Patrick, yes, of course.
I think obviously that's.
You're right.
Yeah,
it was St. Patrick. Yeah. For some reason, I wanted to say Boniface. That's obviously not true. Boniface was English.
Isn't he the one from Exeter?
I don't think
with his sword for his book.
Oh, I'm not sure. I don't think he's from Exeter. I know he studied at Exeter Cathedral, And in Crediton, to the northwest, there is St. Boniface Church. So he did travel around a bit. I think he was most famous, though. He traveled into Germany and worked in converting the Saxons there. And he cut down one of their trees.
Oh yeah, I remember you posting about him, and then somebody had said.
Oh yeah, on Facebook, and it was down. Yeah, Muttery. It wasn't very polite, but he was actually killed by pagans for that crime. I mean, it wasn't the most friendly thing to do. But there you go. Yeah, I've been looking at
Norman Cantor. Right, I was just looking at the Wikipedia page.
Cantor. Oh, Norman Cantor. What are you talking about? Norman Cantor?
Yeah, it notes the 3 roles of Boniface played that made him one of the truly outstanding creators of First Europe, as the Apostle of Germania, the reformer of the Frankish Church, and the chief fomenter of the alliance between the papacy and the Carolingian family. Yeah, that's pretty basic.
I've been reading about Saint Alban the Martyr.
Is he not the first martyr of England?
Yeah, first martyr of England. Let me just go to. I posted the excerpt from Saint Ecclesiastical History of the English People on my website. Let me just look it up here.
I've got the Oxford Dictionary of Saints here, so let me just look at it.
Oh, look at you with your dictionary. Yeah, so this is according to Bede at least, 305 AD. I think the stories go back to like 209 though, of references to parts of this story and his martyrdom. So it's kind of one of these sorts of strange events where we can't be too sure about what really happened.
It just says 3rd century here.
Yeah.
Proto-martyr of Britain.
But
he was martyr before it was cool.
But yeah, Bede says it happened in 305. But like I said, that's kind of disputed. Some people think it happened in 209. But the story goes, I'll read a bit of this. So, this Alban, being yet a pagan, at the time when the cruelties of wicked princes were raging against Christians, gave entertainment in his house to a certain clergyman, flying from the persecutors. This man he observed to be engaged in continual prayer and watching day and night, when, on a sudden, the divine grace shining on him, he began to imitate the example of faith and piety which
Adam left the call.
That's a shame.
So it's now our show. It's our show now. We can take it over. We can reveal the truth that we're
right, here we are. So Alban, a Roman citizen, sheltered a priest, was converted by him and baptized. Soldiers in pursuit of the priest, later called Amphibalus, were sent to search the house. Alban dressed in the priest's clothes to enable him to escape. He himself was arrested and
I love it when that happens.
refusing to offer sacrifice. What's that?
Yeah, where was I?
Yeah, he was converted. He was condemned to death for.
I was in the middle. I was in the middle of reading something.
Yes.
Where was I? Were you not paying attention?
Well, I was just reading from what I've got here. He was. I
think he finished off what you were saying.
Yeah.
No, I hadn't.
No, he did.
No, I finished off what he was saying.
Oh, you cheeky cunt. But yeah,
We're trying to keep the show along. Be professionals.
That's all right. I can't.
Alban was beheaded by another executioner. The first executioner was converted, and the second executioner's eyes fell out. What?
Yeah. So he couldn't look upon him.
But
it's funny. Part of the story, the oldest part is the part from at least 209 AD. Let me just go down here. Seeing this. Bugger. So,
it says, when the judge perceived that he was not to be overcome by tortures or withdrawn from the exercise of the Christian religion, he ordered him to be put to death. Being led to execution, he came to a river, which, with a most rapid course, ran between the wall of the town and the arena where he was to be executed. He there saw a multitude of persons of both sexes, and of several ages and conditions, who were doubtlessly assembled by divine instinct to attend the blessed confessor and martyr, and had so taken up the bridge on the river, that he could scarce pass over that evening. And I must say, St. Bede's retelling of this story is the most... I'll turn my bandwidth there. There we go. Yeah, St. Bede's retelling of this story is the most fancy and elaborate. So keep that in mind. Yada yada yada. So he says, in short, almost all had gone out, so that the judge remained in the city without attendance. Saint Alban, therefore, urged by an ardent and devout wish to arrive quickly at martyrdom, drew near to the stream, and on lifting his eyes up to heaven, the channel was immediately dried up, and he perceived that the water had departed and made way for him to pass. Among the rest, the executioner, who was to have him put to death, observed this, and moved by divine inspiration hastened to meet him at the place of execution, and casting down the sword which he had carried readily drawn, fell at his feet, praying that he might rather suffer with the martyr, whom was ordered to execute, or, if possible, instead of him. So you have this idea of this river drying up at Alban's request. And then the executioner being so amazed by this, he converted as well. But this is the oldest part of the story, and the river itself, I believe, was the River Ver, which is quite a small river, really. But there you go. Yeah, it wasn't like Moses parting the Red Sea or anything. It was like it's kind of a stream, basically. Maybe the river was bigger 1800 years ago. Who knows? But there you go. All is quiet. I'm worried. Why is everyone quiet?
It reminds me of. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It reminds me a bit of in the Herodotus, his book Histories, where he's talking about different. There's a king, I forgot of what country, but he's put to execution, and I'm not going to go into some elaborate pagan story, but no, it's just interesting that there's often like these miracle stories before execution.
Yeah, and like some of these other events which happen here. For example, it was said by Bede that as Alban was beheaded, where his head came to rest after it stopped rolling, all of a sudden a spring of water sprang forth from the ground. Those sorts of details are pretty much absent everywhere else from other accounts of the story. But Bede's retelling occurred in the 700s, so maybe this legend had kind of evolved and adapted and changed by that point. So there.
So
that's just something I've been reading lately.
I've wanted to read some of the early Greek Christians recently, like Origen and stuff like that. They sound quite interesting.
Yeah.
I think Origen is a uncanonized saint because he said that Satan would be redeemed.
Oh wow, okay. Unfortunately, I don't know what Duncan would have to say about that.
About Satan being redeemed?
Yeah, theologically.
I'm not a massive theological expert. I don't think Satan can be redeemed. No, actually, I suppose if you take, everybody is can be forgiven of their sins. If they truly confess, they truly, wish to be forgiven. But I don't think it would never happen.
It interests me because
because
I believe the Mormons actually believe the same thing. That Satan can be redeemed, will be redeemed. Not only can be redeemed, but will be redeemed.
Actually, I was gonna. No, that's fine. Keep going.
No, I just that there might be interesting early Christian theological influences on Mormonism.
Well, Mormonism is pretty fucking degenerate, to be quite honest, lads.
Degenerate.
Well, I mean, Mormonism has got its good points. Like the no alcohol thing,
implying it's not just heresy. It is just heresy dressed up in nice clothes.
I was going to say the thing Greg Johnson said about them is that imagine how many wasted days you've had from hangovers and things like that. But
not many.
That's a very small point in a very big C.
Oh, come on now! Our religion isn't valued by its utility.
No,
in that
of course
sense.
it isn't.
Right.
I don't know much about Mormonism. I do know that they have some pretty good art, which is the only reason I hold back on them being degenerate.
The social norms they have should be the social norms for everyone. It's simply the modern world which says no, my freedoms, my individualism.
Going back to
rebelling against Daddy.
Going back to the Satan thing or the Lucifer thing is that in fact, stop rustling, please.
Oh yeah. I meant to mute. Sorry.
I was going to make a point in a upcoming article that Prometheus is seen a bit like as a bit like a Luciferian figure, especially by people on the new right or the alt right or something like that. As this person who this idea of this Faustian man, bargaining with the devil, and in that sense, I suppose maybe Satan or Lucifer has been forgiven by man at least. And this is, seen in, Nietzsche's Antichrist, a figure.
Well, I think Prometheus was. I've actually read the play by Aeschylus recently. I think Prometheus was. The chorus is very sympathetic to Prometheus, and maybe in a symbolic way that means we are very forgiving and sympathetic with our own temptations, I guess.
Yeah. Well, Satan is of course, is the opposite of, and hell is the opposite of heaven. Satan is the opposite of God. More the opposite of like Jesus in a way, but it's not exact dualism. But Satan is like a very, it's materialistic worldview, and the same with hell. It's materialistic, whereas heaven is, the spiritual plane. So, in a sense, the modern man has accepted Satan into his house, and rather than God, and that's that Faustian bargain, really, isn't it? That people like Goethe and Spengler write about. Was it Andrew who wrote an essay on?
Well, I think they write about it.
Demon
Don't
of
they write about it
recognition?
as the main impulse
Let Duncan speak.
Oh, sorry.
So is it not? Was it Andrew? Or was it Hotherus who wrote an essay on the demon of mechanization, or was that you, Adam?
That was me.
I don't remember.
That was me.
Sorry,
Yeah.
beg your pardon. Did you not write something? Did you not write something similar in that essay, or I'm missing a point there?
Similar to what?
About the idea that the modern world is very materialistic, and then did you not link that with satanic forces or influences?
Yeah, with the influence
there
of
we go.
Kali. The influence of Kali, yeah. And the idea of destruction and leveling. It's the idea of horizontality, the idea of a flat plane and a flat line.
where there
Yeah,
is no
that's
there are no valleys, there are no mountains, just a flat plain. That's the sort of image I'm trying to conjure.
and there's that quote in hell there's democracy, in heaven there's a kingdom, and a
Yes,
kingdom
that's
is
from who's
hierarchy.
that from? That's from who's that from? Cortez, I think.
Donzo Cortez.
Yes, yeah, I think so. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, listeners. But yeah, I think it was him. I think Testis would know actually. I seem to remember for some reason Testis mentioning Cortez a few times recently or a while back. But there you go. And I'd just like to respond to a little bit of criticism. Me saying Mormonism is heresy and saying Islam is respectable. That's retarded to try and make that comparison because Mormonism is a sect of Christianity and it's a reformist sect. You can compare Islam and Christianity. If I said Sikhism is heresy and Islam, no. Mormonism is a type of Christianity, therefore it is heresy compared to Catholicism or Roman Catholicism or the Anglican, High Anglican Church, etc. That which I'm familiar with. But Islam is outside of it to a degree. Yes, Testis' next article is based on Cortez. Good lad. I wonder when that'll be up. We've had like very little content recently on West Coast Reactionaries. The content that's been there has been really good, but
it's a summertime slowdown.
Yeah, I suppose so. I expected that. No, I didn't expect that actually. I expected now that it's summertime that people have more free time and therefore there'll be more articles coming in. But it's still kind of like 2 a week. And we have, what, 17 contributors? I mean, I try and write every week. But whatever.
We can only stop until we have as many contributors as the Countercurrents has, which is like, I don't know, 6 million or something.
I don't know, I don't think they do. I'm just...
I'm just feeling quite uninspired recently.
Oh, it's fine. I just don't like the idea that there are all these intelligent lads who are wasting their time and they kind of,
Shots fired.
Yeah, well, no, it's because I want people to write because they're intelligent and they're good writers, and I want to see what they have to say and what they have to think, and I want the site to grow and to have this stuff seen. I don't like the idea of now and again just something trickles out into a vacuum, not to be seen by anyone. That's a really shitty idea.
Yeah, I agree. What if someone's in the chat and they like the idea of they think they could write a really good article on something?
Well, then sure, they can contact me. I've made this point many times. If you want to write for West Coast Reactionaries, just contact me. Message me on YouTube. There's a fucking contact page on West Coast Reactionaries. Message me on Skype. Obviously I'll need to read what you want to submit first and get a feel for it. And I trust people to kind of think, yeah, this will fit in with everything else that is there to a degree. But I'm totally open to people contributing. It's why I say in the About page, if you want to become a contributor, just send us an email.
Yeah, and your Skype address is on nearly every blog you have and everything like that, so it's not hard to get in touch with you.
It's easy to get in touch with me.
Yeah, you've made that really clear.
So that's fine.
I was trying to convince enviro-fascist or imperialist or whatever he's going by now, John. to write. But we ended up just getting drunk instead. That's the last time I saw him. And then not speaking to him for a week, I thought he was dead. I couldn't get in touch with him. Turns out his phone was broken. I ended up phoning his work, and he picked up the phone, and I was like, "Hello."
Oh, yeah, that's why you asked me for his contact.
Yeah, so I didn't have any to go
this months and months ago, when I first said to you and John in conversation, if you guys want to write rescue, I said and you've taken it up and you've done.
Yeah, it took me a while, but I eventually got around to it.
It's fine, but it's not a rush. But you've done some really cool stuff. But yeah, I would be happy to have anything John wants to write. Although I've spoken with John on a few occasions, but I haven't spoken to him for fucking ages. In fact, I think I actually got taken off my Skype because we hadn't spoken to each other for months.
Oh.
So again, as I said earlier, everyone, if I do this, it's nothing personnel. It's just me being autistic. Let me just check my contacts.
It's Saint John of Kronstadt. That he was the guy who did the democracy and kingdom thing, and he was an Orthodox priest of the 19th century.
Right.
So definitely, like kingdoms and democracies were a big thing during the 19th century with all the revolutions that were going on.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't have John.
I just want to quickly address a comment that someone made, which is they call themselves West Coast reactionaries. How highbrow could they be? Then the next person says they probably smoke blunts on the weekend. And actually, what you fail to realize is that the unofficial motto of West Coast reactionaries is West Coast reactionaries. It gives you such a chilled out vibe that you almost lit the blunt, but then you put it out because you realized it would be degenerate.
You fucking said that months ago when we first fucking started. That was what you said. You thought the fucking name meant. That's a fucking hell. I'm glad you fucking said that again.
Well, it's what it is. It's the West Coast of Europe. Sorry, it's the West Coast of America, and it's the and I don't know. When I move and start putting out articles more consistently, it will also be the West Coast of Eurasia in the Mediterranean.
How many people are from? How many contributors are in Britain?
Well, me, Duncan, probably someone I'm forgetting. I'm tired. Let me just.
James?
No, James is. James is Filipino. He lives in California, I believe.
Oh.
Alex is British. That's everyone, I think.
Simon?
We don't invoke that name here, boy. No, I think that's everyone. Octavian is Australian. Lucius Vara, I think, is American.
We're West Coast around the... wherever we are, we're still on the West Coast of Europe.
Yeah. Well, like I've said many times, the name was simply the name of Andy's blog because he lived on the West Coast at the time, and then he asked me to start writing for him, and that's just what happened.
Good things happen that way.
Yeah, basically.
I'm just to do. I don't know what you guys think of this, but in my own personal life, I've bought a feature phone, a non-smartphone, and I'm not bringing my computer to school, hoping to get away from the constant inundation of distraction.
Yeah, I know what you mean, mate. I don't have a smartphone or anything.
Well, I've got a smartphone, and I've just recently
it's pretty degenerate.
upgraded my contract because it was the same price, and I was getting, as a loyalty thing, I was getting twice as much. And I sort of regret it now because I was just thinking the other day that I need to stop using it. But I think it'll work out in the long run. It's worth it for now. But
for a while, all I had was a smartphone.
Yeah, you fucking know Ed doesn't even have a working computer. Well, I think he does. I don't even know. Ed, what the fuck is your technical situation?
Oh my god! I've got a shitty desktop.
So obscure about this. It's infuriating. You have a shitty desktop. What is it fucking running? What OS?
Thumb drive Linux.
Which version of Linux?
Just thumb drive, just like the classic, whichever one it's called, like the really shitty one that you boot up from your flash drive.
That is, I'm not sure. You need to.
I think there's a bunch of different ones that can do that.
Yeah. Dude, get like Linux Mint, just something simple, and
just
install
get a Chromebook.
Fucking yeah, a Jubuk, fuck you. Get just fucking Linux Mint.
I'm gonna get a Chromebook so all my searches go directly to like JIDFHQ or whatever.
Schmidt, what is his name? George Schmidt? John Schmidt?
I don't know.
Google guy.
Well, I upgraded from. I've got Windows 10 on this computer.
Wow, get a load of this, Normie.
Yeah, I know. I had
fucking disgusting.
Windows 7. I had Windows 7 as well, and I was.
That's not as bad.
Went for the
Windows 7
Windows 10
is-
upgrade, but it's not been too bad. But maybe I should have just stayed with Windows 7.
No, you can't because it eventually forces you to upgrade.
Yeah, I know.
It's absolutely fucking like.
But in terms of computer, I spent $1,000 on this computer, and I was really into gaming at that point, and I've not really been interested in that for a while.
It's pretty
Strange.
degenerate. £1,000.
No, yeah, it was a good investment. I sort of built it myself.
Oh right, fair enough. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like the phone contract thing. All these things I really don't need, but I don't spend a lot of money on anything else apart from books. Buy so many books and they just sit there and I don't read them because I've got so many other books to read.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Although I haven't actually bought books in quite a while because I've just been forcing myself. Well, I don't have any fucking money, but most of what I read is on the internet. So there you go.
Well, I've been quite blessed in finding some good bookshops where you could buy books for £1. The book that I'm reading at the moment, where is it? It's basically Thomas Mallory's Legend of the King Arthur, but made into a narrative by Roger Lancel Green, and he does myths of the Norsemen and some other gods,
I'm
things
sure
from Egypt and stuff.
I'm sure the Exeter Public Library has Ganon and Evla, right?
No, I'm pretty sure it doesn't, mate. I have a few Evela books.
He has everything by Evla already.
I don't actually have. I have 4 Evela actual hard copies. Actually, no, I must.
I think I actually have more than you.
You do.
I've got.
But how many of
Ride
you?
the Tiger, Men Amongst the Ruins, Fall Against the Modern World.
Yeah.
And
is this
Mystery of the Grail.
Is this a really reactionary
And I've got The Path of Enlightenment.
dick-sized competition or something? Who's got the most books?
No, it's just surprising because you'd think Adam had to have every
I don't. I have read lots of Evela.
Yeah, of course.
But
yeah.
I have a tendency to read things again and again, like really autistically, just so I absorb everything. Like I said,
you probably have more of it in your head than me.
Yeah, I don't know. But I own 4 Evela books, but I've read other books of his, and I don't. It's terrible. I don't sit down and just read through a book. I will pick it up and read a chapter or a few paragraphs, or I'll skim through it, or go to the contents and look for a certain chapter on a certain topic that I want to write about, and I use them like that.
That's not a bad way of doing it.
That's a good way of using a book.
Yeah, but it's I can't obviously do that with I don't read much fiction. I want to read the Iliad, Odyssey, etc. I also want to read Dante and others. So obviously, with that sort of thing, it'll be a bit different.
The thing with Dante is that if you're reading the Divine Comedy, you could easily use that as a source, for essay writing and stuff. You wouldn't just have to read it as a fictional book.
Well, yeah. Well, I do that for everything. But anyway,
get Symbols of the Sacred Science, by the way.
You can't
buy Symbols of the Sacred Science.
approach Dante just as a book.
I have a problem of giving away my books.
Yeah. Why would you give away your books?
Because I give away my books to people because they're not reading. And
why would you do that? If they're not reading, then why are they going to read your book?
Because no, not my own personal book, but I've given away multiple copies of Sophocles and stuff like that, just because I give people these energetic you need to be better type of speeches.
How often does it work?
Never.
Oh, so I was really hoping you were going to say sometimes.
Never.
Give not your pearls unto swine.
Well, you know what? I like pigs. They're cute.
All right, David Cameron.
The books I have, I don't know. I think Ed's seen my books. I only have 12 books. Just the Iliad and the Odyssey and all the Greek tragedies, and that's pretty much it.
Well, fair enough.
Well, that's what I found is that after reading so much theology, philosophy, whatever, reading reading fiction is actually quite refreshing. It just so happens that I was reading books that were sort of based on, Myths of the Norsemen, for example, is about the Norse gods and everything, but at the same time, it's fictional in a way. It's been made into a fictional narrative, so it's enjoyable to read. It's not just a straight from the rubric.
Yeah.
Has Ed ever given you a tour of his parents' bookshelf?
No.
Oh god, it's bad. You can.
I don't want to know. If it's bad, we're not having it on here, boys.
But like this book that I've got now, the King Arthur one, it only cost me £1.
Yeah.
That's great, and I've got the got a few other ones for £1 each.
Yeah, it depends where you get them. I mean, I'm just so. I mean, I got what did I get? I got my Norman Cantor's The English: A History of Politics and Society to 1760. This was £1, actually. As was, what is it again? Oh bugger, The Barbarians by what's his face? Some
Caesar.
other chap. No, there's some other chap. It's just a bit of history. But I got that as well. I saved it from this fucking junk, this recycling place, and I obviously find books in like cupboards that people haven't checked. So yeah, I rescued them, and actually, Norman Cantor's The English is a very fucking good historical book. I would definitely recommend it.
Gwenon didn't really think much of Anglo-Saxon people, did he?
No,
Neither did
nor did Evan. Oh, please no bully. There is reference to obviously Arthur and the Grail and other sorts of things, but no.
That's more the Kelto thing, isn't it, though?
Yes, it is. We seem to have just been very. Our distance from Rome, I think, is a huge part of that. The fact that we are just so geographically far away from Rome and are stubborn and want us to do things our own way, which is why I think kind of Anglicanism was sort of an inevitability, because it would have been we would have ended up somehow, if it wasn't through Anglicanism, doing it some other way of doing things our way and just being awkward in English or British, I should say. Yeah, it is a shame. I do think there is a legitimate kind of form of Englishness and so on and so forth, but it's just rather buried. And secularism we've never really had the idea of imperium here, at least not in the same sense as Pontifex Maximus of Rome, etc.
Well, King Arthur is referenced as Emperor of Britain, and there's Athelstan as referenced as Emperor of Britain, and there's the imperial crown that Henry VIII created, but he actually called his Henry VII called his first son Arthur, and he died, unfortunately.
Yeah. But is there doesn't seem to be...
It's not like exactly the same as the Holy Roman Emperor or the Philip Augustus, who was the French king. No,
you don't see really many parallels. I do think there is that kind of substance. I do think there is that substance in Britain, in England. It's just very concealed and is manifest in kind of awkward English fashions.
Yeah, I keep thinking along the lines of the Anglos created the modern world, thus we are the first race to degenerate. Like when you read in a book that's in Norman Cantor saying that we're the first ones to come up with this idea of democracy, and then like, well, is that really a good thing? But then I think that's taking it too simply with modern lens of what.
Yeah, I think that's you could easily make the argument that no, it was France with the Enlightenment, the Revolution, etc.
You could also see it as a positive thing, first in, first out.
Eh?
First to modernize, first to get out of modernization.
I don't think it quite works like that. I don't think there's anything inherent in the Anglo-Saxon which is inherently and by its very nature prone to rejection of logos, which characterizes modernity. Quite the opposite. But I don't think. I definitely think our being apart from Europe that was definitely a factor in establishing our kind of awkward, sometimes just contrarian character, like Henry
But
VIII.
during the Middle Ages period, we were very much a part of Europe, and the aristocracy. You know, it wasn't really until the Reformation that we started, in the break from Rome, that we started going our own way.
Exactly. Well, there are
You
other,
guys migged out.
but there are other instances in English history of us kind of being somewhat apart from Rome and other indicators like that.
Oh yeah, there's definitely fights between like the King of England and the papacy.
The church in Rome, yeah. And I think a lot of this is just due to politics and geography. But well, if in that case you mentioned the Reformation, it was the fucking Germans. They were the first. So yeah, have that.
Based Catholic bishops saying that Martin Luther was a good boy, he didn't do nothing wrong.
Oh, I can't believe that. It was Germany, wasn't it? It was Germany, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Germany,
the German bishops recently.
A German bishop, a Catholic, said Luther was a man of faith.
No, not just one bishop though. Like German bishops, like I don't know, the majority of them at a council or not a council, but the consensus among German bishops is that Martin Luther was a good boy. He didn't do nothing. Well, that is putting it rather crassly, but something like that. But then you've got German bishops, like the chap, I don't know if he's a bishop or he's an archbishop of Cologne, where they were doing the whole lights on for against fascism stuff, and let's have a service, and for an altar we'll use a refugee boat.
Yeah, well, I think that's quite symptomatic of Germany's present kind of ideological, cultural kind of state. Germany is fucked in many ways.
Yeah.
Rather profoundly. Just the ethos of that nation as it stands is there's something very perverse and very wrong at work there. It's kind of like the black sun has collapsed in upon itself and turned into a black hole, you know.
Well, they know how to change quickly. I will say that historically they can change in a very
the
short
German
period of time.
efficiency, their organisation has worked to their benefit. I'm not sure how well they'll be able to avert the present scenario, however, just due to the weakness of their character nationally and their seeming. I don't think there are any, especially in mainland Europe, in Sweden, Germany. It's going to get horrifically bloody before there is any sort of kind of conscious hold on a fucking second. Hold on a fucking second. Hold on a fucking second. We need to sort this out. So there you go. We're just kind of rambling on though, saying the obvious now. Ed has disappeared.
Germany didn't exist until 1873. It's fake.
I don't know why you think I disappeared. I'm just listening.
You just get very quiet.
No.
Oh,
I'm listening to everything.
Germany. Mm-hmm.
That's fair enough.
I just don't get out of my depth, you know.
Oh, well, don't we all? It's better to say something and be wrong than to not say anything at all. And then you can be corrected.
Fair enough.
That's my strategy. Just say loads and loads of bullshit, and eventually, cleverer people will come along and say, no, listen here, you little shit.
Or
then
more
I
like,
can change my opinion, and then it's like I looked fine anyway.
it's Adam, my dear boy. Let's not forget this when we're talking about this and that. And you're like, oh, right.
Yeah. Like the first time I ever spoke to David Parry, he smacked me down for saying something incorrect. Like, please no bully, all right? But now we're friends. But that's quite all right. I like being wrong. I have no. I much prefer being wrong, than and knowing that I'm wrong, than just never being challenged. I must admit, sometimes people object to things I say with just total bullshit. But oftentimes you can tell when someone actually has agency and any authority to speak about something. With me, it's very rarely, but that's all right. I mean well. Please, no one, just don't bully me, all right? Alfred Albion says you are wrong about Islam, mate. Alfred, what is your authority to speak about the matter? How much have you studied it? And that's all I will say on the matter. I have given it some consideration. I treat the topic very seriously. So there you go.
Oh, did you like that video I sent it to you of Chris being converted to Islam?
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Well, I didn't watch it actually because I just saw what you'd commented. And I was like, I'm not watching that.
Yeah.
It's just like a British working man being converted to Islam.
Yeah, no, that's because he's a fucking spiritual cuck. He deserved it. In that act, he forsook all of his he forsaken all of his ancestors, his very being as an Englishman, his very essence of his fucking core as a conscious being. He threw it away. So everything about that man was expressed in that moment.
It's like a woman having an abortion.
It is, yeah. It's like a woman killing her child.
Yeah.
That man has so dishonored himself. In my opinion, he can only redeem himself through suicide.
That doesn't even redeem himself. That doesn't redeem it. I don't think.
I think that would be an adequate correction.
A band-aid on it.
No, not even a band-aid.
Well,
I'm genuinely serious when I say that. That is an act so. Again, this topic of people converting just rubs me the wrong way.
But he's no longer one of us, so to speak. So
But that does not.
He doesn't need to redeem himself because he's now part of another grouping.
No, he isn't.
So
he isn't a part of another grouping. He is a nomad now. He belongs nowhere. He has stepped out of his own. Yeah. He stepped out of his own skin in some feeble attempts to try and fit himself into another, and it will never be the same. It'll never work.
You know, Ronin in Japanese.
No.
Law. I don't think they were seppuku. They would be, vindicated of their status, because if you're an outcast, I don't think there is a way out of being an outcast. Killing yourself doesn't, because you're spiritually an outcast. So if you die, it doesn't matter. That's just your mortal remains, isn't it?
Well, no, it's. Harakiri is.
That's why they used to bury people at crossroads.
Yeah,
for example.
But harakiri is an act of overcoming shame. One has shamed oneself and denied oneself to such a profound degree that it makes no sense to go on living. One's very being has been violated or forsaken, and therefore. One becomes like a spent match. That is exactly what's happened, and that's what happened in that instance. This Chris is worthless anyway. He doesn't mean anything. But in those sorts of acts, that's all I observe.
Is conversion ever appropriate to you?
No. No, it's not ever appropriate. The only instance historically where I would even begin to not question it is the conversion of Europe to Christianity. Because I don't see that all of a sudden the pagan world all pagan men were suddenly stricken weak and adopted this foreign entity which was imposed upon them. I think it was much more nuanced than that. And obviously the cases of peaceful conversions cannot be ignored. And thereafter you have centuries of church fathers and so on and so forth trying to wrestle with this new kind of European Christianity and trying to explain it and explore it and give it some depth and to prop it up. And I think they succeeded in merging the pagan and the Christian under the banner of Europe. It happened. But I don't think there is any continuum between Europe and Islam. Some people think there might be. I don't think there is. To me, it's something which is so alien and so outside of. I can see a continuum between forms of Germanic and Latin and so forth, paganism, and Christian monotheism. I can see a metaphysical continuum between the two. I can see a kind of clarity there. I can see the church as an entity serving as a kind of a fence around this kind of pagan park. It defends it and protects it and completes it. With Islam, I don't think that there is nothing for Islam to complete. Europe's height was in the Middle Ages, with the high Middle Ages in the church there, found clearly manifest in people like Dante and the Divine Comedy.
Well, I meant conversion. Well, I think you understand what I meant, but I like. What about like someone converting from like a Protestant sect to like Catholicism?
Oh, that's just fine. I think that's quite fine, because the fundamentals are similar enough, and you're still then dealing with a European trajectory. The ground beneath one's feet is the same. But like I was just saying, Europe has a clear identity. European nation states, we know who we are. We have just forgotten it. That is all it is. That is literally the only fucking problem that exists in the modern world, is that Western man in particular has forgotten himself. He has rejected himself. He has rejected God. He has rejected Logos. He has rejected his very being. That is the source of all of our problems. Fundamentally. Islam cannot fix those problems. Islam will not fix those problems. The only way for us to fix those problems is to return to the state we were in when we were strong and self-knowing. Islam need not provide a new identity for us. We have an identity. It's just been hidden and obscured beneath ice of Kali Yuga. It's quite simple. And this is why I get so frustrated with this idea of conversion to Islam. Because it's so needless. One is throwing oneself away for nothing, for no reason. All one has to do is re-encounter oneself and re-encounter God. And all it takes is a bit of honesty and a bit of self-reflection and a bit of patience. It's all it takes. But most moderns are so fucking shallow and impatient and materialistic that they will never do it. It just annoys the fuck out of me, honestly. But there you go. I'm done ranting. As you see, I got quite angry. I'll shut up for a minute. Anyway, Jack says God is better than nature, TBH. When I say nature, I don't mean trees and shit like that. I mean one's fundamental nature as a conscious being. In all of us is God. When we look through the eye of the heart, we look through the eye of God. As beings, we can make that connection through prayer and invocation and asceticism and mystical experience. We encounter God and we assume the mantle of Christ. Man become God or becometh God, and vice versa. That is, this process is all that's lacking. What's happened in the modern world is of course multifarious and multidimensional, but the core of the matter is quite simple. It's quite simple. It's simply a rejection of the divine, and thus also a rejection of ourselves. It's like we're now stumbling through purgatory, through these dark corridors, and we have no idea what the fuck to do. We are floating through this void,
There is no ground beneath us. There is no light above us. There is just darkness. And this is the modern world. So, there you go. My voice is getting a bit kind of high and tenory and worn out from talking, and everyone else here is rather quiet this evening.
When sorry to, I don't mean to divert the topic too much, but when you spoke at the society, or sorry, the extremist club, I was kind of amazed at how much the mic wasn't picking up on the bass in your voice compared to how much your normal mic does.
Yeah. Well, I think there wasn't a mic. It was just using a camera. So it was just really a handheld on a tripod. That's all it was. So it wasn't like there was a microphone or anything. I managed to put my cam on for this. I do have my older microphone that I used when I was into singing. So I've ordered an adapter for it, so I can use that instead of using this, and which would be cool. We'll see how it goes.
Will Adam Wallace's musical career ever begin again?
No. I still play drums a bit, but no, I'm not doing anything like that. Only in the most rare and intimate and personal and artistic and romantic of experiences and instances will that ever come back. John, you are making so much fucking noise. I'm gonna fucking come to America and kill you if you don't stop it.
I forget who it was. But someone chin. I don't remember. I think it was Cater Endless. It was funny when Ald was like, "Stop that rustling noise."
I just don't know how people make noise. I'm sat here with a headset. Like, there's nothing in front of me. What the fuck are you guys doing?
I'm
You're
cleaning my
lying in
kitchen.
bed.
Well, I was accused of breathing too much. I'm like, whoa. Sorry,
It's not as bad
I'm just going to suffocate somewhere else.
We've done so many of these like hangouts. There are so many instances where people have annoyed me by being noisy. I swear, I remember all these funny instances now of people like people you could hear like toilets flushing and people like things like that. Like people having like crisps and some people.
Yeah, what is it? Crisps and.
Bad chat etiquette.
They're bad chat etiquette. Yeah, exactly. People should have manners.
Every time I've made noise on here is just because I forgot to press mute. But the worst I've found show that has people with really bad chat etiquette is Manifest Destiny. If you've ever listened to that podcast, like there have been multiple shows where there's someone eating chips into the microphone the entire show.
I've listened to a few. I remember being mentioned in one of them, and I listened to that one, and it was quite good.
Well, there are certain podcasts that are sort of themed around that.
I'm not sure what you said there, Ed.
It's a very astute
Whose
point.
podcast is Manifest Destiny again? Which TRS group is it?
I think they're their own group. None of them really jump out at me as being on other TRS stuff.
No, I'm just wondering because like there are different groups, like there are sort of themed podcasts often.
No, I'm not. I don't know
Around
what I mean by that. I'm sorry.
different regions.
Oh, from different regions of the country?
Yeah, they have different ones, like Fresh Britannia's for Britain.
Oh well, I don't think they're from any specific area. I think they're their own kind of crew.
Yeah. Well, it's under TRS Radio. I think it's kind of it seemed more highbrow to me than some of the other ones. There were less memes and less shit posting.
Yeah, it's almost no shit posting.
Yeah. There was still this white nationalist bent to it. It wasn't special snowflakey like we are, but it was kind of.
You should go.
It's quite pleasant.
Yeah. Adam, you should do the culture comp thing.
No. I think I seem to recall, and I don't know if I'm just imagining things, but I think Ramsey, Aristocles, Invictus, he did ask me months and months ago if I wanted to be involved. I think I told him no though. I might be imagining that. I don't know why, but I'm not so sure about that even happening. But we'll pretend it did. But no, I wouldn't anyway because I'm not German. I assume those guys are German, and also much of it's kind of I don't. I'm
They
not.
did a whole thing on Evela, if I'm not mistaken, like a whole episode.
Oh, that's fine. I don't care.
I'm not
Evola
particularly
is-
familiar with that. Any of that? What you're?
Yeah. I mean, they do a lot of stuff on like philosophy, and it's it's good stuff. It's high realm.
Mm.
But it would be too dry for me, personally. And also, those guys are Germans, I think, and Germans are, in my experience, they're just kind of cold.
No, I don't think they're German. I think the two main guys are American.
Yes, fuck, you're right. I'm just putting everything on Aristocles. I'm tired. Forgive me. My autism is kicking in. But
I'll forgive you as long as you forgive Chris, the Islamic
The autism hour.
convert.
but I wouldn't involve myself with the TRS crowd, just because it's not my sort of thing. I have my thing, and that's fine. I don't even post on the forum anymore. You can't even fucking delete your account using that software, that forum software. It's fucking retarded.
No, you can just ask the administrators and they'll delete it for you.
Right.
At least I think. I don't know. I haven't been on since like the first one.
Yeah, you probably can, but whatever.
They just get too meme on TRS, and it kind of bothers me.
What do you mean? Did you say mean?
No, Mimi, like M-E-M-E.
Meme, yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Some of it's a bit. Well, it's very in-group orientated, of course. It's the same crowd of people listening every week, and they get used to that, and therefore you have all these memes. Like with a lot of stuff I do, we do have our kind of our jokes here and there that are kind of known to us, but I try and keep things a bit more open because if you go too far with the memes, then you alienate people who just see it for the first time and think, "What the fuck's he talking about?" Like this word, like words like Randy and Swipple, like no one outside of like a few thousand people on this closed community on the internet know what the fuck these words mean. So why would you use them for like public mediums like this? It's just going to lead to problems and misunderstandings and having to re-explain things to people, and I can't be bothered with that. But there you go. But no, what we do is we get plenty of overlap with that crowd anyway. Most of the people who are aware of me are aware of the right stuff and of the alt right and all the rest of it. That's fine. I exist on the fringe of all that, and that's cool.
Yeah.
You're on the edge.
Yes, exactly.
The true edge.
Yeah, it's not accidental.
I'm gonna start the rice
But
stuff.
it's
Which
not
will be
about-
an Asian reactionary group.
That's what I was going to say to you earlier, Adam. Actually, from what we were talking about when you were at the forum. What was it? The London forum you were at, or is it
The Extremist Club. The London
The
Forum is on the 24th of September.
24th of September. Okay. It's not a competition to be who can be the most right wing. I'm sure you know that, but sometimes it's good to remind ourselves of these things. There's no point just being edgy for the sake of being edgy or to.
Well, look at it this way: it's a community full of young men on the internet. You're going to get loads of signaling and competition, even subconsciously. It's just going to be the way it's just going to happen. But yeah,
I'm
of course.
edgy because dull blades don't cut.
Wow, I
I
can't
think
top that to be honest. But I think a lot of this.
Yeah, but we need to cause destruction, and blunt things cause destruction more than.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like these things do happen. I don't see any problem with that per se. I think it's perfectly natural that you will have this sort of manifesting. But yeah, individually, should people think, "Oh, how can I be right wing today?" That's retarded. But I don't think anyone actually thinks like that.
I think there's a certain tendency in America in some young people to treat politics like fashion to a certain extent.
That's a huge, yeah, especially in America. I see this, and it's I think partly due to the media's influence and the fact that you have Fox News and CNN and MSNBC and all these other kind of implicitly politically aligned organizations with their own agendas. We don't have this in the UK. We have Channel 4 is a bit lefty. The BBC is kind of lefty. Everywhere is just kind of the same watered down liberalism. So there's no right-wing television channel.
Well, not even that. I mean, like in America, I don't know if it's as big in Britain, but you'll, amongst young people, you'll have someone who says, "Oh, I'm a communist," yet they've never read anything that's like, they've never read any communist material. They've just read the Wikipedia page for Karl Marx, and you'll have a lot of people who say they're libertarians but understand nothing about libertarianism. You'll have a lot of people say like, "Oh, I'm an ANCAP. Oh, I'm an anarchist." You know, there's all these things, and a lot of these people who identify as these kind of third political options in America are often the same group of people, just constantly shifting their political identity like clothing.
Possibly, yeah. But I think also a part of that is people just trying to belong to a group. You know, they want some foundation somewhere. I am this. I am that. I think this. Because organic community is hard to come by.
They define themselves against something if they
yes, exactly.
define themselves for it.
I'm an anti-feminist. I'm an anti-SJW. These sorts of angles and things like that. People are just trying to find something to stand upon. It is futile.
Yeah, but when you're living in a subjective world, you know, you need to find that stability.
Yeah, especially in like a big, massive cosmopolitan city, people are just kind of floating around with no allegiances hither and thither. I love using those words, but they just kind of float around here and there, and they don't. So they're going to naturally, I think, come to some form of ideology because it's all they have. They can't have race. They can't have religion. You know, they but politics is kind of an open option still. Even on the left, you can be a Trotskyist, you can be a Stalinist, you can be an anarchist, you can be an anarcho-syndicalist, you can be yada yada yada.
Yeah, I know quite a few Maoists.
Yeah, and like I bet none of these people know fucking jack shit about.
I will say
Maoist
most
China.
Maoists know what they're talking about. Pretty much every other type doesn't.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. All the few Maoists I know what they're talking about, and every other flavor of leftism usually has no idea what they're talking about. I think Maoism is pretty hardcore. That's why.
Yeah, it is. It is very hardcore. Yeah, like Trotskyists do tend to know what they're talking about, only because they're all autistic, and they fucking all they do is read about Trotskyism, and so on and so forth. What are people talking about in the comments? Let's have a look. Just a load of bullshit, to be honest. Duncan's shitposting with Saxarit. Hello, Saxarit. And I didn't actually delete her on Skype. I checked. I said I did earlier, but I didn't. I was wrong.
You just sent her a winky face like a month ago. Keep it in touch.
No, I can't remember. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, Jack. Wow. Imperial aspirations, Jack. Oi, lad. I used to be a Trot TBH, and I read pretty much every book by every Marxist. Mate, there's only one place for Trots in our community. It's in the pit. In the pit. I don't want to throw Jack in the pit, but an ex-Trot, can we trust him? Could he just be an infiltrator?
The pit just gave me like flashbacks because I know you. I do stuff with the $1 Million Extreme, and there's a subreddit called The Pit, which is just people who complain about the old MDE not being a thing anymore, and like writing long rants about how ugly I am and how much they hate Sam. It used to be the first thing you would look up on Google would be a post, if you typed in my name, would be a post about like how like this rant about how I'm deleting all the good posts and how ugly I am.
Oh wow, that's quite terrible bullying.
It's pretty good bullying. I mean, they probably compromised me getting some jobs.
Yeah. Well, honestly, lads, bullies belong in the pit as well. We can agree on that. Adam is grumpy. I'm not grumpy. I'm a little tired.
You're in denial. No, I'm not.
You say that, I will get angry. But no, I'm a bit tired. But no, I'm pretty relaxed, honestly. I got a bit angry earlier, but that's not so much anger as desperation and please, you cunts, fucking save yourselves.
Nobody's listening to me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Yeah, thank fuck. Good. Wouldn't want that to not be fucking true, eh?
When is Ed coming to visit you?
I don't know. Ask him.
Soon. ASAP.
Soon.
Ed, can I hide in your luggage?
Does everybody see that Nigel
Yes, you
Farage
can
is
hide in
gone?
my luggage. But I'm coming to visit you probably after the 15th or the 20th. And on the subject of soon,
Orthodox
Common
Lenin.
Filth recently completely changed up, I think, his Bandcamp page and put a big thing saying soon. Or was that his Twitter?
I don't pay attention to Common Filth, to be quite honest.
I think that means he's finally going to
kill
I don't
himself.
know. Yeah, that's what I was hoping it wasn't.
Ed likes the at the core of Ed's Abrahamic identity is gay bashing, so that's why he likes Common Filth so much.
Yeah.
Who's Gabe Ashing? Is he someone I knew in high school?
Very well played.
Wait, the 15th of September, or the 15th of August.
August.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, August. I mean, my talk in London is on the 24th of September. So that's what, just over a month away?
Is that the London Forum?
Yes, that's the London Forum. I have no idea what the fuck I'll talk about. No. I'll probably talk about what I was talking about this evening, about being of race, and our whole crisis really being encapsulated by the rejection of the self, and thus the rejection of logos. I'll do that. I'll do. But yeah, that's on the 24th. So we have 4 weeks until then. Well, no, actually, just under. About 4 weeks until then.
Is something bad going to happen after you give a speech at the Extremist Club?
Wait, no, it isn't 4 weeks. It's 5. Let me just fucking count this shit. Good heavens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's actually about 6 weeks. So there's plenty of time for you to come down.
Wait, what's going to happen after you go to have a speech at the Extremist Club?
At the London Forum, I don't know.
I mean, at the London Forum. Pardon me.
I will be going up. I will be going up likely on the Friday, on the 23rd, staying and doing my talk on the Saturday, and then staying maybe another night and leaving on the Sunday, or I'll leave on the Saturday. But I'll probably a couple days in London. I'm not sure where I will get lodging. Maybe I'll. Stead has offered me a room. So has David. So have others. But I do need to return to London and do some making contacts and so on and so forth for important reasons, such as a job, which would be quite nice. I think that'd be quite sensible. But that's like 6 weeks away, mate. So between now and then, you can come down to for as long as you like. If you really want, you can come to London with me if you have the money. Although lodging will have to accommodate 2 instead of 1. So there you go.
Well, I'm sure Greg Johnson will have enough room in his bed.
Oh God! Don't banter Greg Johnson too hard because.
The thing is, Greg is actually going to be at this talk. Jez said I will be quote unquote supporting him. So I hope that doesn't mean what I think it means, but there you go.
How was meeting Jez, by the way?
It was really interesting. I have previously implicitly kind of stated that I don't trust Jez too much. I must admit, and I think I said this before, but that opinion has changed. I've had my suspicions about Jez based upon something Troy Southgate has said. I had come to learn, however, though, that Troy also thinks David is an informant, and plenty of other people, and there's just a lot of kind of silly things going on. Having actually met Jez and been in the same room with him and looked him in the eye and shook his hand, I can tell you quite enthusiastically that the man is perfectly ordinary. He's very eccentric. You get this vibe from Jez that he's always busy, he's always active, he wants to do loads of things. I mean, I think he wants to get the Muslim Brotherhood to speak at the extremist club. Like, as well as they've had like card-carrying socialists there as well. So you have all this sort of stuff going on, and Jez is very integral to that. He's also integral to what happens at the London Forum and various other things. Jez to me just seems like he's a nationalist, but he's very energetic and very really just a nice guy. Some of the things, what am I thinking of? I mean, at the Extremist Club, it was quite interesting. We had me there. I was last. The first guy talking was reciting Anglo-Saxon poetry of a rather lewd nature, which was quite entertaining, and he got plenty of kind of guffaws and giggles from the audience. And the second speaker was a young actor, actually. I think his name's Sean Dix, and he did readings about liberty. Who was it? He read a speech of a certain MP about liberty. And he juxtaposed it to the European Union, and we had this dialogue, and that was interesting. And then there was me. So it was dare I say diverse, and Jez is involved in a lot of this stuff. So it isn't Jez being a government informant telling everyone about the big bad far right, but Jez is genuinely quite an integral part of this kind of intellectual community. Intellectual and culturally interested community which exists in London, for the good of everyone, for the good of not only us on the right, but also the left and everywhere in between and outside of it. So
sounds like a waste of time, to be honest. Nah, it seems like a really creative place, and there's a lot of.
It is.
It's a very energetic.
Anything besides Nigel Farage and Trump is a waste of time. TBH.
Yeah, Joe Owens.
Have you seen Nigel's new mustache?
Yes. Good grief.
But
I support
as long as it's like a creative hub and there's a lot of energy there, then.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what it is. It really is just a creative kind of hub. It's a community. There's a social element to it. It's all sorts of things. It's a facilitator. It's a networker. It's pretty much like we have on the internet, but just in person, with all these different hangouts and podcasts and articles and websites and people talking to each other and arguing and all the rest of it. It's just that translated into reality, into the real world. So yeah, it's all good stuff. It's all very it's all very healthy, and I'm glad that I'm kind of coming to be a part of it, because I've been wanting to fucking get out into the real world for a while. And I can also shill my YouTube channel and West Coast Reactionaries, so that's fine by me. And the right people see it as well, because a lot of the people involved in these things are people like publishers and writers and people who are involved in all sorts of things. So it's all good stuff.
Is it all mainly in London, the Extremist Club, then?
Yeah, the Extremist Club is a London entity. However, there have been talks, and it's kind of still being organised, of starting a Wessex forum. This is something I wanted to do quite a while ago. If you remember, I wanted to start the kind of new Wessex right as a sort of something like this, like a southwestern London forum, a community / organisation, a sort of networking sort of thing, but actually in person. You go to a place and you shake people's hands and you listen to a talk and you all the rest of it. I wanted to do this, and this could be actually happening now.
Then you have dinner with people and you actually get to know them.
Yeah, or you go for a pint, you know?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, really an important thing to do.
Then you relay their information to the government.
Yeah, yeah. You can complain to MI5 all you like about how this person's talk wasn't right wing enough, or they're probably a lefty in disguise, and that beer was really terrible. It's funny when you get to these sorts of rumors, like what is being reported allegedly. I mean, what? People go to these talks, they listen to someone make a speech about some obscure topic, and then everyone has a point, and there's a bit of banter. Like, that's it. There's really nothing suspicious going on.
Has there ever been fights there?
Not to my knowledge. I think that people don't disagree and they argue, but I mean, after my talk, the questions section after that, which I cut out of the recording, as did just I don't know who edited the London Forum copy. I think it was David, David or Jez. But yeah, there was a Q&A, and people did disagree with me, and there were people who said some very silly things, which I disagree with very strongly. But there's no reason to make a fuss.
We have nothing like this in America. This whole forum thing.
You have MPI and you have American Renaissance, although those things are they seem far more formal to my.
There used to be the CCC, the Council of Conservative Citizens.
Right. Well, in any case, the answer is to do it yourself. The answer is to make some contacts and find a meeting place, even if it's just your house and you have some space in the front room, and organize like a monthly meeting or something. That's how these things start.
I feel like that it's not the American way.
Well,
I mean that in a very serious sense. Like, I think the way it is in America is there's much more informal, totally informal, formal, non-public meetings, and then very formal like conventions.
Yeah, I don't think we really have that distinction here. I mean, the Extremist Club is a public thing, and yet it was really informal and relaxed, and it was just, people went there to listen to some ideas, and because they're interested in what people have to say. I did my talk. Skeleton was there. Centrist Extremist was there. Another lad was there. And it was just quite pleasant. So I don't think there has to be this strong definition between formal and informal. I don't think that should define anything. If you want to do this sort of thing, just do it. Start small and make it bigger and see how it goes.
I agree with you. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I'd certainly be interested to do more of that, when it's more practical for me to do that.
Yeah.
But, Britain's still a big place. But as we're saying to you, Adam, on Twitter, you don't necessarily have to be connected with people who are reactionaries. You can do fraternity-based things with people nearer to you, closer to you, even if they're not reactionaries. But I think you did make a good criticism of that, saying that the general British public are pretty pleb to you.
Well, no, if you're going to do something like that, this is, I think, what James did with his friends. I shan't say anymore because it's rather sacred. But these sorts of fraternities, sorts of social spheres that are tightly knit, they are intensely personal and profound. It's not just something your average Joe Bloggs down the street is going to suddenly be involved with. Something like the Extremist Club or the London Forum or possible Wessex Forum is more open. If you have smaller circles within these circles which are more closed and elitist, that's fine. Which I think is something, for example, myself and Ed are establishing. Just between me and him, our friendship is very strong. But that's fine.
Oh,
yeah. The only reason Ed's coming over is we're going to move in together.
No phalanx.
we don't need that phalanx shit. It's a bit too straight, to be honest. But
what do you think of phalanx? And I got asked if I wanted to go on the what's it called now? You know, like the getaway thing where you go away.
Are you serious? You were invited?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to talk
No,
about this?
no,
I feel,
no, no,
I feel
listen.
bad.
Everyone shut the fuck up. There is a huge misunderstanding. Richard Spencer's phalanx thing is not the same as what's happening in the UK with with another organisation.
Right. Yeah. That's
Western Spring
Western
is not.
Spring. Yeah.
Yeah, Western Spring is not the MPI. Western Spring, that's something totally different. Richard Spencer's phalanx is a closed private entity, and I honestly I don't think it should be discussed. If Richard, as much as I disagree with old Dickie Suspense, as much as I disagree with him on many things, I can. That's his thing, and if he wants it to be secret, then that's how it should be, and I should honor, and we should honor that honestly. If people want to form those sorts of societies, then that's cool. That's good for them. That's a healthy thing to do. So I can't. There's no reason to criticize or lament it. I think most of the people talking shit about it just don't get it, and that's fine because these things aren't for most people.
I mean, if I could say one thing about it, the weird thing was that apparently he leaked the thing himself.
Well, I don't know. I don't think it matters. If it says it's supposed to be secret and you're not supposed to tell anyone, then that's what what people should abide by. You should honor his wishes. It's just a respect thing. If that's what he wants, why bother violating it? But it's like the same thing, like I just said, with regard to a friend of mine. There was something which happened, an organisation, well, not so much an organisation per se, but these things are intensely personal and intimate, and they don't have to involve everyone, and they should not be made a spectacle of. However, just in juxtaposition, things like the London Forum Extremist Club, Possible Wessex Forum, they are not the same. These things are public. They exist as, and the Extremist Club particularly acts as a bridge between left and right, between the politically incorrect and the politically correct, between that which is normal and that which is alternative. It's all it requires is to get some people together who are open-minded, and not open-minded to the extent where your brain falls out, which seems to be the case with plenty of modern liberals, but open-minded to the extent where you can entertain opposing ideas without crying. You know what I mean? So that's all it takes. Basically, just people who are grown-ups. And that's how you get these things started. And again, I would advise people to do that. There's no reason not to do it, to organise these sorts of meetings. And let me look at the left, the political left as we see it. For fucking centuries, they were hiding in beer cellars and basements, plotting and theorising. You know, hiding away at the backs of pubs and having backroom meetings, theorising and writing and communicating with one another. They did this for centuries, hundreds of years.
Well, maybe that's that's the Marxist left, isn't it? But
Yeah.
You've got different.
But you had the same thing with the
left
French. But you had the same with the French Revolution. And
Yeah,
plenty of the revolution.
they were they were like the men of letters, that kind of thing.
Yeah. There's no reason why we should. We can take upon that mantle, not as leftist destroyers of civilization.
But there were progressives say in the 19th and 18th, 19th, 20th century, and people would say that the Luddites were lefties, but they were the ones wanting to stop the aggressive forward march of materialism, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah. But the point stands that if you want to form a movement, quote unquote, if you want to have a cultural force appear, it has to be made manifest through the actions of men. If you want some sort of quote unquote political awakening in quote unquote white people in America, quote unquote, then you have to be that change yourself. You have to be involved in these things and be active and be creating a countercurrent and counter media, all these things. And part of this is making these sorts of clubs and gatherings and connections. It's why it's so important.
I agree. I think, at least personally in my life, I don't feel prepared personally to do that. Like I don't feel like I'm, you know, it would be like you were saying with not being sure to go to the London Forum. I don't think I'm personally prepared to start any sort of political organization, you know, literally, physically, or mentally.
Well, that's you then. That's fine. Not everyone has to be. I don't perceive myself of being that sort of person. Some people will disagree with me and tell me that I'm perfectly capable, but I don't see myself as being or having the skill set required to host and organise a Wessex forum, which is why I dropped the idea. But now it's being taken on by another group, another party. I will still have my involvement, but I won't be in charge. At least not yet. I don't know. But that's fine. It's like, so what? I'm sure,
No,
like,
I'm disagreeing with you.
for example, when Ed comes to England, I'm sure me and him will sit here in front of my camera and do something, and that's like a physical occurrence, and that is important. I want to meet up with Jack. I want to meet up with Alex. I want to meet up with you, Duncan. And that is important. That's an important thing to do, and it is something of which we on the internet often forget. Jack's gainsaying me. He says, right-wing movement is somewhat of an oxymoron, TBH. Yes, you know what I'm fucking saying there, you cunt. Yeah,
To
I'm
make
not
a
saying...
right-wing movement, you have to create a dialectical. No, I'm kidding. You have to create another leftist movement to piss off everyone.
Well, the thing is, it's actually funny if you look at like Neo Reaction gets so much shit for this regarding pacifism and activism. Activism is inherently left-wing, as we perceive the left wing. It's inherently progressive. People like Plato were not activists, and this is what I think people on the quote-unquote right should be doing. Not going out and marching and screaming, but forming a countercurrent of culture and ideology and
creating things. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Not just rebelling against something external, but actually creating things from themselves and being the harbingers of a certain positive force.
That's my biggest point that I disagree with Richard Spencer about. He's always bringing up that we are like the new '60s, like, you know, not counterculture. Well, he does say counterculture, but he means it, like, I think, as a kind of rebellious, like, anti-establishment culture, which I guess we are to a certain extent, but I think we can't replicate what the left did to take down
when Spencer says that, he's not saying, you know, we should all take LSD, and he's saying, you have this idea, and you have to look at how it. How do I put this? Look at the skeleton of this idea, the structure of it, not the form or the innards or its color, but its structure and its shape. So the alt-right is an oppositional force to the status quo. Like platonically, it is the opposition to the leftist status quo. It does exist itself, for the most part, we must admit, within the paradigms of modernity. Spencer is an open Hegelian, an open materialist, but it is nevertheless at some level a countercultural force, and that's what he's saying when he says that.
I guess I feel like the overturning of culture has already failed many times, and it's just like, is this I don't want to be a blight on a blight.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because it's like we've had a negation of a negation of a negation of a negation. You know, the present progressive kind of lexicon is a negation of nationalism and materialism of the 18th and 19th centuries, which is a reaction against the kind of tyranny of certain regimes, and so on and so forth. You can keep going back in time and looking for things like that. What I would say, though, is to view the present situation as actually an absence. If you look out into the world as it is, at least I do, I see an absence of culture. I see an absence of civilization. There are things which have arisen to fill the void, but they are not actually culture and civilization. They are not actually
proper forms of human expression. They are kind of hollow, kind of half imagined copies. Like, look at like lizards, right? When a lizard drops its tail off, the tail never grows back the same. It grows back kind of stubbier and never as aesthetically symmetrical compared to the first original tail. This is kind of what's happened. I'm only thinking about that because my lizard is behind me. But you have
I
this.
think I've had someone explain the current cultural situation exactly the same way to me.
Yeah.
Which is interesting that that's in the... Well, and I don't think you guys are reading it from the same place because he came up with it in a conversation. So I think that there's some truth from redundancy in this, what you're saying.
Yeah. So I think then the response of people like us to this situation as we see it should be to refine actual culture and actual civilization and authenticity. This is what we should be looking for and recontextualizing for the age. We need to delve back into the past and bring back to the now things of substance and of authenticity.
Well, yeah, create a stable foundation for the next generation of people after us.
Yeah, but also ourselves. We have to create a stable foundation for ourselves because we are currently in freefall as well. We've been in freefall for centuries.
Well,
So we have to answer this question of absence, and the only way to answer it is, of course, with what's perceived as tradition and an authentic spirituality, authentic culture, authentic, organic civilization. That's a very important word, organic. So yeah, that's what we have to do.
It's really interesting that you were saying when you're talking about how West Coast reactionaries was started, and that is pointedly also organic.
Well, yeah, a lot of these things happen. Obviously, not everything can be quote-unquote organic, and our definition of that word is important. Some things do require hierarchy and structure and conscious action, not just be allowed to happen. But of course, time and place for these things is tantamount. Oh, dear.
I mean, I think that the origin story of West Coast reactionaries is always kind of charming.
Yeah, it's just kind of it has a kind of humble charm to it. It's kind of uncanny that it was just Andy's like blog where he complained a little bit about so and so topic.
And I mean, God, think of what it's become. I mean,
yeah, it's neat. It's cool, and I'm glad Andy is still involved with it to a degree.
It's like the start of McDonald's.
How dare you compare the two things? Fucking hell, how dare you, cunt. Fuck. But the fact of the matter remains that, yeah, I'm proud of what's happened.
I'm proud for you.
Thanks, babe.
I think that one of the, I don't know, I think that one of the best things about the website that it's got going right now, I mean, the content's always been great, but recently the aesthetic has just gotten so perfect. I hope you don't tweak it again, but I know you will. And
I
change
won't.
It, but true.
No, I'm not going to change it again. There are some things I can look to and think, that's not how I want it, but I'm not gonna fucking change it. I'm happy with how it is. I found something nice and clean and consistent.
If you really want to be traditional, you should probably find some sort of wood theme, some theme that incorporates pictures of wood and,
Mate,
you know...
we are not going for some fucking old school, like, 2002 web page like countercurrents. You know,
I think the you know, it's a bit like Social Matter. That's quite a hip sort of.
Oh,
website,
I cannot stand Social Matter. I love
not
the
your
content
grandfather's
there.
Thursdism, Adam.
I love the fucking content there, but the website and the formatting infuriates me. Because some articles, the text is justified,
Yeah.
sometimes it isn't. And
I
at the
text has to be
bottom of every article, all of the share icons are cut off at the bottom because they don't quite fit. And oh fuck! And when you scroll down on an article, you're left with this horrible blank space on the right hand side because all the widgets don't come all the way down. Oh fuck me! What? Oh fuck no! No! Fuck! Nick, Steve, if you're listening, please fucking fix that shit. It's infuriating. I'm so autistic. I'm sorry, guys. I'm in a particularly autistic mood tonight. I'm actually going on to social matter right now. I'm actually going to fucking screen share this shit, just to highlight how autistic I am. All right, so we're on so if you go look at this shit, right? They have an about, right? And you have to press the search there, right? And you click search, and it goes to a search page. And look at this shit. Can you see this? The fucking icons cut off.
It's probably because
Tell
you're
me
using Linux.
No, it isn't. And look at the fucking search over here, kind of out of the box. And all this is aligned to the left, and that's aligned to the center. What the fuck are they doing, cunts?
You have to buy a Mac. That's
Oh
probably why.
fuck! And the Facebook widget's all kind of like it doesn't fill the whole fucking widget space. And you scroll down.
There should be a West Coast Reactionaries like Android and iPhone app. It'll be like like giving you a new article,
Oh, no.
and you can read it on your phone.
So if you go to the authors page, this is still quite good. But why do you have two horizontal lines here? Why not one? My autism is
I think
really
it would be a
strong right
good
now, guys.
aesthetic change to West Coast Reactionary if the cursor on the web page was like a cross or maybe like a ghost or a ghoul.
No, I don't think that's kind no. And these like random like space age images, which just kind of seem a little like it doesn't span the whole page. You know what I mean? It's not centered, and you have all this fluff down the bottom here, like sharing. Ah, why? It just gets on my nerves. And let's go to the West Coast Reactionaries. See, it's fucking everything is in the
Let's
center.
bask in the beauty of
You know?
It's a great web design. You should get the alt-right web design award.
You know.
Ooh, you said that all right. Also, Adam Walsh, are you all right? Do you still consider yourself that?
Not really. I suppose I fit under the umbrella, but I'm kind of too special.
Oh, could we talk about that thing that we spoke about earlier, Adam, or is that off limits?
What thing earlier?
The thing that
The secret one.
yeah, the secret thing about the broadness of the alt-right and whether or not you would get some quotes in from Base Deviler.
Oh right, about talking at the.
Yeah.
Oh no, we can't mention that. Not yet. Not until Woes has done his thing.
Right.
Oh, this is gonna get so many people fucking guessing. Holy shit! Why the fuck did you mention it, you dumb cunt? Oh shit! No, we can't do that yet.
Well, I didn't say anything, Adam. What are you on about?
No, nothing was said, guys. Just don't pay any attention.
The truth is, they're informants. They're both informants from the MI5.
I wish, mate. It'd fucking pay a lot better than this.
It's gonna be like The Departed. We're both informing on each other.
Yeah. Reminds me of that picture of, I don't know who's doing who anymore.
Yeah, and Adam's gonna be like to Ed, but what about the baby?
But just look at this. Look at this shit. It's like, oh.
Yeah, I like the sliding thing. It doesn't really work on my phone that well.
Oh, right. There's a picture of 14-year-old me. And everything. I mean, have all the share icons. They're all they're there properly. Everything's nice and clean. Comment sections are nice and sensible.
related articles ever.
Yeah, of course there is. I'm still waiting on this Italian girl to translate the last part of this interview for me. She's taking her time.
You should put a hex on her.
Oh, good heavens! What sort of Negro do you think I am?
An abo?
Oh, based abos.
Put some an abo. What do abos even do? Because like I've seen them do this thing where they sort of dance around the fire and they put like white stuff on their face, but I don't know what that means or the significance of it.
That's just abos being abos, mate. I don't think there's any reason for it.
Yeah, do they know what it means?
I don't think they even remember what they're doing. They're just doing it out of habit, like how they forgot how to use fire. Yeah. Based abos. True aristocrats of the soul, everybody. The most traditional race. So traditional they forgot like elementary forms of technology like fire. Just degenerate.
Yeah, so traditional Prometheus didn't even teach them how to make fire.
Nah.
I know that that people like Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels thought that the English were too patriotic, and Engels definitely thought that the Highland Scots were far too reactionary for their own good.
Well, I'm afraid Jack isn't here, so he can't comment. I can't speak, obviously, on the matter. My autism is my autistic itch is kind of annoying me right now.
Scratching.
Yeah, I am, mate. Am I presenting to everyone still?
I don't know. I'd have no.
You don't seem to be.
No. Jack is here. He's just in the comments. Yeah, Evelo would put a curse on Mussolini. Yeah, that's the thing he was referencing.
Right now he's gone.
Adam left, yeah.
Yeah. You know what I find really unnerving about Adam's current profile picture, besides the clouds, is that it looks like when it's in that little thumbnail in the corner, it looks like he's there, like his camera's on.
Yeah, I know. It's a deliberate trick.
Countercurrents.
Look at this.
That 2003 webpage.
Look at this poor website. I feel so sorry for it. Look at.
I think I saw a link for West Countercurrents on Fark and Dig. Now he gets those old.
Right, let's go to an article, okay? Right, and watch what happens when we scroll down. Watch on the right hand side. What is that blank space there for? All these books, and it just keeps going. What is this, Greg? You fucking tell me what is this shit.
You should offer your services to Greg.
All this blank space because the fucking web page forces itself to extend its length and to incorporate a body of text instead of just auto wrapping to it, and then it has the fucking RSS and shit at the bottom. And little do we know, if you look at the HTML there, the URL, that is countercurrents.com/wplogin.php. That's a WordPress login. So Countercurrents is actually working on WordPress. See? So
try to hack into it live.
Fuck off. No, but so what's happened here is like it's an easily solvable problem. Countercurrents could easily just choose a nice expensive theme from the WordPress directory, and it would solve all these problems.
You should complain in person. No, not even kidding.
I am not going to fucking go to Greg Johnson in September and say, look here, cunt, your website looks like shit. You need to change it.
I like that sunset, though.
But it's like, there's no reason for the sunset. It's just kind of like they had to have something there.
It's the sun setting on the west.
Oh wow, that's not even a good thing. That's quite bad.
We're entering the winter.
Yeah.
Someone commented Neanderthals never had their spring on one of your videos.
Oh, oh well. But yeah, it's fucking topic. P.T. Carlo, one of the writers for West Coast Reactionaries, as well as one of the writers for Social Matter, as well as one of the writers for the Catathon think tank, which is a fucking well done. We said this the other day, but well done, P.T. Carlo. But yeah, me and him were talking. He said, the kind of aesthetics for a lot of this media, although is not as important as the content itself, it is still very important. Now, the best example of this awful potential that exists on the internet. Alright, I'm going to show everyone probably the worst website I've ever seen. Right, so this is my website. It's not that bad. Right, it's just my little blog. Right.
The worst website ever seen. This is my website. Your website looks actually pretty good, Adam.
My website's pretty good, boy. Right, so if you go to links section, this is where I shill other guys and things I think people should read and look at. There's one particular link here, all right? Julius Evola, his main views in his own words. Let's go to this website, juliusevola.net. Look at this abomination. Look at this fucking text. Look at it. It is. This should be considered. This should be considered blasphemy. I'm not even joking. Look at this bullshit. What the fuck is this? This is ridiculous. What the? Look at
this.
Look at
This is absolutely esoteric.
This is no. It's not. It's not. It's the opposite of esoteric.
I thought that was done on purpose, to be honest.
I think it partly has, but I also think the person who did it is a moron. JuliusEvola.net, and this is what the like.
Look up the Who Is. I'm sure a website like that he has his phone number and his email on it.
Oh fuck! Look at this! Look at this bullshit! Oh dear. Right. Homepage. It's like a it's like a child designing this web page. I remember in like year 9 doing like elementary HTML and designing buttons and stuff using like JavaScript and those sorts of things. We kids made better web designs than this. Julius Evola. Data. Look at it. Lower cases. Not even with quotation marks. It doesn't even need quotation marks. Look at this. No capital letters surrounding his name. On Italy, it's all lowercase. Oh. Now watch below. Now this is like a 1998 like porn website. This fucking good heavens. And then they have an embed of that one clip. Paintings. Alright. So it has the paintings. Right, but they're all in really low resolution, using this kind of slideshow sort of thing.
Looking at their Who Is, the website was created in 2003.
2003. Well, I'll be fucking damned. Bibliography, external links. Well, the website has obviously been updated since then because that video of the Dada of Evola speaking about Dadaism that was on YouTube was created in 2005, so that video has been uploaded since then. So yeah.
I think it's Evola from the Dead who made this website.
No, I think Evola would have some sort of aesthetic taste. Oh, it's frustrating to see this.
Like, we can't really tell about that from his paintings. Well, especially not on this website, anyway.
Well, no. But this website really frustrates me because, I mean, look, I like Evola, like obviously. I think his books are really good. I think he's a very important thinker. And to have the website juliusevola.net, supposedly a website all about the man, and for it to expose his views and exhibit them in such a manner is so unhelpful and just such a stupid thing to do. I need to, if I can, I actually once considered copying this entire website on a WordPress page using WordPress and basically recreating the website just to make it look aesthetically pleasing. Oh, good grief. Someone should buy the domain for this and tidy it up. Find the owner and just buy it from them. And
Is there no about section where you can find out who they are?
no, there is nothing. Everything here is. Well, you have the external links section.
Clearly, purely informative.
How annoyed are you, Adam? It's Honor the Master at the top, and Honor is not with a capital H. It's in American. It says Honor, and it says it's not even in correct English, and it's no.
Oh, that's so frustrating.
The
so bad.
domain expires on December 6th.
Right. So I wonder what will happen then.
Well, you need to get in a bidding war for juliusevola.net.
Oh, look at this text at the bottom. You can't even see it. You have to highlight it.
Oh, it's extra esoteric.
Oh, it's secret, guys. It's supposed to be only the anointed would know how
Only
to
the
see that.
initiated
What does
can
it
see
say? I
that
can't see
text.
it from your screen. What does it say?
The text says, complete bibliography of Julius Evola. Julius Evola books in English, English with a lowercase e.
Oh, you know what this is? You know what this is?
What?
This was for SEO, like back in like the early 2000s. Remember, I don't know if you guys know about this, but they would put like a million like tags in the same color as the background, so that they could get more to higher up on the Google search terms.
Right. Good. Julius Evola. Publishers of text by Julius Evola in English. Oh, it's just a mess. I'm actually going to fucking do that. If this webpage expires in the this year, no, seriously, if it expires, then
Well, looking at the who is, I think they have it so they automatically buy it, and it when it's
right.
So I think you might have to contact whoever owns like whatever website DNS they're buying it from.
Yeah.
Do they have an email? Try emailing this guy.
I don't know. How do we get to the?
I mean, I know some people who can do some dirty tricks, and I can personally do some dirty tricks if needed.
It's pretty edgy.
Dirty tricks, or
The heist
looking
of
at the console?
JuliusEvola.net.
I mean, this is a really basic. So much of this could be just fixed by someone spending a few days just going through the HTML and just giving it some nice grammar. Copyright 2010 Network Solutions.
You could get juliusevola.xxx for $25.
Esotericism gone sexual. It just,
Just make
Well,
it
that
all
would just-
about the
That would just
metaphysics
be
of
for
sex.
metaphysics of
Yeah,
sex.
yeah. Just all about tantra.
Yeah, I was reading about I don't know how related to this is, but I was reading about these this person who's like sort of like some sort of the argument is like people used to worship before the Abrahamic religions. People used to worship things that are called demons today. It's this silly sort of website. It like fuses like Satanism and sort of white nationalism or something like that. And basically, it's like they said on it like apparently the main woman behind the website, the high priestess, as it were, was like gotten some sort of legal trouble for doing trying to summon sex demons with some bizarre ritual.
Not surprised.
It's fucking odd. Like it's fucking.
Crossbreeding between animals and humans is now legal in the United States.
Is that serious?
Look it up. I'm sure that's true.
Okay. Are you guys still there? Hello?
Hello.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, my internet's been really weird and laggy.
I think Ed cut out for a second, or at least for me.
Yeah. WordPress isn't loading for me. Oh dear, internet. Network, wonderful issues. Hooray.
that's the. It's not exactly true. Um,
Hello again, everyone.
so the National Institute of Health proposed a new policy which would allow researchers to receive federal funds to make part human, part animal embryos.
Wonderful. That sounds wonderful.
Centaurs, when?
Just makes me think of fucking like Fallout. Honestly, lads,
Let's
we've been going for
recreate
quite some
Greek
time.
mythology with centaurs and minotaurs and fauns and such.
Um, honestly, lads, I think we've been going for quite a while.
David Farris just shared this, or he maybe shared it. Well, it was on the 11th. American pastor who helped Uganda create "kill the gay" laws or law will be tried for crimes against humanity.
Wow.
And
Oh
Dave
yeah, I
said,
saw that. Yeah.
Dave said, "This man's a monster."
Yeah. Well, it's not a very polite thing to do. And in countries like that, they kill them. It's not a case of no marriage for you, but it's a case of decapitation or imprisonment, and so on and so forth.
Maybe David just posts all these sort of things so that he doesn't appear.
No. David is quite liberal, really. He's politically libertarian. He's very knowledgeable of perennialism and so on and so forth, and he does know what he's talking about. But he is quite an English liberal. He's a classic liberal, really, but an open-minded, authentic English classical liberal who will listen to everything, who will entertain any idea and debate it and argue it. And, that's why he mingles with all of us, because he has no qualms with things we say, and because his views are his own, my views are my own, your views are your own, and that's the mindset he has. That's quite all right.
Yeah, but this thing links to Right Wing Watch, like Hope Not Hate, and it says, yeah, well,
What does it say?
Homosexuality is a sin.
Oh, of course it is.
But they're saying it's not just another sin. This chap has said that it's a sin that defines rebellion against God.
I suppose to a degree. I can.
He seems like a sola scriptura, Bible, that kind of stereotype, Westboro Baptist sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to get at there with what they're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Those sorts of questions, moral laws, all that sort of stuff to me is out of my control. I have influence over my friends and myself, and I of course have principles which are eternal and go beyond that. But I personally cannot go out and quote unquote cure every gay person. It's just like, and also what this guy was advocating has led to people dying, being killed. It's like what we were saying the other week about that nightclub in Orlando. Those people were sinners, but did they deserve to be murdered like that? No. That was not the wrath of God, anointing holy justice. It was a madman who decided to go and murder some civilians just because he wanted to kill people. Oh, well, it wasn't just because he wants to kill people. We know why. The other reasons, but it wasn't some sort of. Those people didn't deserve to be gunned down like that. They deserved to have someone fucking tell them, stop being a fucking degenerate.
But in an ideal world, the society within which they inhabit wouldn't even permit it. Their fathers wouldn't have permitted it. They themselves wouldn't have permitted those sorts of actions and that sort of lifestyle morally, even if they were homosexual. So it's not just a case of kill the gays. That's a stupid and very unintelligent attitude.
Well, apparently he gave a series of talks, and then after that, there was laws made, maybe using some of what he'd said.
Right. Well, I don't know about the case, and I'm kind of busy doing something else right now. But if he didn't deserve to be trialed for human rights abuses, then he didn't. But I do think with this sort of thing, if you're going to engage with those sorts of questions publicly, you have to know what you're getting into. You have to understand the world, and you have to understand what people's reactions are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not going to go out into the street harassing foreigners and then complain about, oh, I should be able to speak my mind, you know, I'm being oppressed by the system. Which is technically, you know, there is some truth to those sorts of sentiments. But why would I be surprised when suddenly I'm arrested for hate speech? Like, what's the big fucking surprise there? I should have known it was coming. Whether or not it's justified or good, we have to be realistic. So yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying about that. We have gone on for quite some time, and I'm feeling our energies kind of dwindle.
Some of the stuff David posts is pretty weird, though.
Yes, mate. We aren't going to talk about David here, I'm afraid. This is not the place to be bitching about him publicly.
I'm not bitching about it. I'm just commenting.
Yeah, I know. You know, I agree with you. Anyway.
Yes.
I think one thing it reminds me of, though, is that social media and the internet is a place where especially whites, like Europeans, can use it as this giant sort of narcissistic like sphere where they can broadcast themselves and whatever they do, and then get, you know, vacuous rewards from that from everybody else, or they can think that they're important when they're not really, or make their lives seem better than they are, and they can put a lot of energy into that, and it means nothing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
A bit like video games in a way.
Yeah, of course.
Not to attack anybody who likes Skyrim or anything like that.
Oh dear.
Or Fallout.
These things are, you know, escapism.
Yeah.
Illusion. It's not good. It's not healthy. Anyway, lads, I can feel our kind of energy dwindling. We're all a bit tired. I'm tired. So I think with that, we should bring things to a close, unless there's anything anyone wants to desperately say.
Thank you very much for having me on.
No problem. I look forward to you coming to England.
I'm disgusted with this whole.
I look forward to it.
Can't believe you asked me to come and talk with these people.
I know, Duncan. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I forced you into this at gunpoint. Yeah, Cater, I will do that talk with you about modernity and tradition, the syncretism of modernity and tradition, the potential syncretism of modernity and tradition. Yeah, we will do that. That's still on my mind. I've just been preoccupied. Probably sometime.
I just wanted
next
to say
week.
that chat with you and you and Cater was very good, and Mark, I think.
Yeah, we had some people saying that was the best conversation we've had aside from some of the plebeian podcasts, which is cool.
Yeah, it'd be good to do another plebeian podcast sometime. I was sort of looking forward to it today, and then.
So was I, but people. I'm going to actually have to start being very strict with people not fucking holding to commitments. I don't mind people having lives and telling me, yeah, man, I'm sorry, I was busy, I had to do this piece of work for college or something. But when that doesn't fucking happen, people just don't appear at the fucking scheduled time, which is consistent, and I'm always available.
But it's because we've had a few days, you know, of nothing. It's a few weeks of nothing happening, so people have sort of forgotten about it. It's gone out of their periphery.
I know, but it's still frustrating, especially. Yeah, but it's still frustrating for me though, because I'm there every week. David is there every week. You're there most weeks. Mark told me he couldn't be there, and why? I don't mind people not being there. Just tell me, and then we can work around that. But when I'm there waiting every week and expecting certain people to be there and ready to go and rock and roll, and they're not there, it just fucks everything up. Anyway, I'm getting tired and I'm getting a bit bitchy, so I'm gonna shut the fuck up. And thank you everyone for listening. Kind of a lengthy discussion this evening. Covered all sorts of nonsense. But there you go. So have a good day or night or whatever.